Well, what's up, everyone? Thanks for hopping on to this webinar here today. My name is Bill Svoboda. I was going to say my name is Paul Stine.
Your name's Paul now.
My name is Bill Svoboda. This is Paul Stine. Welcome to the CloseSimple Webinar. Paul, we're excited for this today.
Yeah, we are. We're talking about, I think, one of the most relevant topics in title right now when it comes to fraud, and that's seller impersonation fraud. And, we're going to be digging into a lot of topics today as we get going.
Well, we always like starting the CloseSimple webinar on time. We end on time. There's going to be about 20 minutes, and we just hope to pack a lot in the next 20 minutes. So for anybody that's new to CloseSimple, though, we love working with tech-driven title and escrow companies who care about the customer experience. Today we're talking a lot about fraud and security. And Paul, I think one of the biggest things that maybe separates us from other vendors in this industry is we think about customer experience, though, with everything that we do.
That's right.
So if anybody watches a demo of CloseSimple on our website, they're going to recognize the customer experience, the look, the feel. So with that, Paul, let's hop into this topic of identity verification. What are we actually solving? That's really the question today. We have a lot of people that are, you've heard about identity verification, but Paul, let's go a little deeper. What are we actually solving with it?
Yeah. And I think it's obvious what we're trying to solve today, and that's this seller impersonation issue. And if you haven't, experienced it personally, you've heard story after story of, vacant land or, non-owner occupied properties being sold to fraudsters. And obviously what we're trying to solve is how do we get rid of this fraud? How do we catch it? And how do we make sure that we don't become a victim of this type of fraud? So that's actually what we're trying to solve. But how we actually get there, what are we actually solving on our path towards solving the seller identity fraud issue? That's what we're here to talk about today. Well, and we're going to talk a little bit about our solution and what makes us different. And where we really like to start is everything we do is integrated. So it's not going to be manual. It's not going to require extra effort from your team. In fact, we can typically install our seller identity solutions without asking your team to change any additional workflows. Most of our title production software integrations allow full automation so that we can really get to solving this issue without taxing your team with doing a lot of things, and really without taxing a lot of your consumers, your sellers, with a lot of things too. So we like to solve this issue with as little friction as possible to start, and then only asking consumers to do things if we really feel that there's additional risk there. So, we're really trying to make this easy, simple, integrated.
And we hit on the screen here within 3 seconds, because it's automated, because it's integrated, we can do this faster and at the front of the transaction.
Yeah, we can start to give you an idea of, the risk level of a seller, like Bill said, 3 seconds after you open the file.
Next up, what's the difference? What makes us different?
Yeah, so customer experience. Bill hit on this earlier, but everything we do is really starting to say, can you have one consistent experience throughout the entire closing process? And we talk about this all the time in terms of, with having lots of different vendors, different solutions for how you're sending documents or communicating or asking for information or doing fraud-related items. And then all of a sudden at the end of a transaction, someone gets an email that says, hey, wire your money over here. It's not too surprising that we have this issue of fraud with how fragmented customer experience has gotten in this industry. And that's why everything we do at CloseSimple is tied tightly into branded communications that look like you. They don't say CloseSimple, they say the title company name. And then, from there, it's getting into our portal, and everything is tight. Everything's branded so that if they get something that, comes from some other person, they know, they start to understand that, if it's legit, it's going to look the same.
I'm going to grab my phone here. We all have these cell phones. And
yes, we do.
We all have these cell phones. And how many different times, you hinted at this, you started talking about it, we get hit up during the closing with some new thing to do, If I get a text message, if I get an email, I have this on me all the time. And when the title company says, do this now, and if it takes you somewhere new, I'm stressed out. I'm between emails. I'm between errands. I'm just going to look at it and go, I better get this done. So one experience, it keeps it unified.
Yep.
Now it's not all over the place.
Yeah, if we need to go to an actual identity verification where they're, using their phone to take a picture of the ID of wherever that is, it should look like the same experience where they filled out their form, where they got their documents, all of that.
Yeah. Well, next, the last thing that really makes us maybe different is what?
Yeah, I mean, we leverage artificial intelligence in the solutions that we put forward, and I think, other people might be able to say this as well, but we're really trying to leverage cutting edge AI to make sure that we are, validating IDs accurately and effectively as people are going through that process.
AI, everybody wants AI today. And that was one of the things, if we can bake AI in here, it's definitely a leg up.
100%.
Okay, so Paul, what are we actually solving with our identity verification?
Yeah,
talk to me about that.
Yeah, so we hit on it earlier. We're trying to root out this, these fraudsters that are posing as sellers in the process. And really, we're seeing that primarily on, vacant land, non-owner occupied properties. But as this issue has gotten bigger, we're actually seeing these fraudsters get more and more just, I don't even know, like they're just so bold now. They'll actually move into a home, they'll forge documents, they'll forge IDs, and they'll show up to closings in person. So we have to make sure that we're getting in front of this. And the first thing we are trying to solve is we're trying to just identify risk in the process, and we're trying to catch bad people. What's interesting is our solution, we're actually looking at a number of pieces of information that you provide us about sellers, looking at those and correlating those together to identify risk. And that's fully passive in the first way we look at identifying someone as whether they're, high risk or low risk. And we do that fully passively. And we also have access to information that tells us if the person's actually a known fraudster, if their name, phone number, or email are associated with previous fraud. Now, what's interesting about this, and I think one of the things we're actually solving, is not necessarily saying bad people stop the closing. Let's stick on the last one. Let's stick on one for a second, Bill, because Bill, bad people can still own and sell properties.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think we talk about that enough in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, we have information that tells us whether a person might be known fraud, but what we're really trying to solve here is someone who's posing as someone else. We call these synthetic identities, and synthetic identities is what we're actually trying to solve. Because if a bad person does bad things and owns a house, they can still sell that thing. I mean, you could potentially decide if you want to close the deal or not. You're probably closing that deal. They just happen to be a bad person. So we're trying to identify risk early. We're trying to identify those synthetic identities. And again, we're starting that process off fully passive, and we're doing it in 3 seconds or less. Pretty cool. All right.
We catch it early. You just said that 3 seconds. We catch it early.
Yeah, exactly. So we all know, and Bill, we talk about this all the time internally, that a lot of identity fraud gets caught at some point in the process. Either the escrow officer starts to feel this is a little fishy. They start talking to the listing agent. It might make it all the way to the closing, and oh my goodness, I can't make it to the closing. I had to go out of town. I want to use my own notary. And then you go, no, we have to use our notary or use our RON process. And then someone can't actually pass KBA or identity verification. And all of a sudden, boom, you find out they're fraudsters. And so a lot of this type of fraud is getting caught. Of course, some is getting through. People call us all the time and say, hey, would your solution have caught this? Because we just closed this deal. So that does happen. That does happen. But a lot of this stuff's getting caught. The problem is it's too late in the process. So what we try to set up in our solution is, again, within 3 seconds, we have a high likelihood or not of whether somebody's fraudulent. And then we have a second tier step that we put them into that automatically requests an ID verification from them. So let's do a little math, Bill. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 100% of our sellers coming through. And then we typically within the first 3 seconds can say about 92% of them look pretty good.
Okay. So let's do this math. We got 100%.
100%.
100 minus 92%.
92. So now
Okay.
we're left with 8%. So 8% typically of our sellers are getting an ID verification task added into their CloseSimple portal automatically. And then they're going to go and complete that. We average at CloseSimple between 70 and 80% task completion across the board when people are filling out their seller information sheet, buyer information sheet, you know, things like that. So if we talk about, you know, let's say 70% of 8%. Ooh,
Yeah.
this is going to
What
start
is
to
that?
get tough. Yeah, exactly.
1 point.
Yeah. So what we're left with is something like 2 to 3% of sellers. You know, we have now identified or helped sort of eliminate all the good ones to say this is the seller population that you need to be worried about now within your sort of like ecosystem. So
Yeah.
instead of worrying about 100%, we can do that. And most of our tasks will get completed in like 2-3 days. So within 3 days of opening a file, you have a full confidence or very strong confidence on about 97% of your sellers. And then you can worry about these other ones. And then we talk about playbooks and how do we start to get to the next level of how we deal with those. But instead of waiting 45 days, anticipating the revenue, doing all this work, there's actual costs associated with this. And we want to get rid of that. So we catch them early.
Well, and you talk about the workforce now, everybody's going, how do we do more with less? How do we accomplish more short-staffed maybe?
Exactly.
And why is the team working on something that might just be fraudulent?
Exactly. We did math.
We did math. We did math right here. We did the math. That was very complicated. Next time we got to start with something other than.
Yeah, maybe I'll just use round numbers.
It was really good.
We got to it though.
It was good.
All right, let's go to the third one. Okay, peace of mind for your staff. Bill, I was on the phone with one of our customers. We're talking about this. And one of the biggest things, this is a very large organization opening 3,000 files a month. And he just told me that, you know, their actual escrow staff is basically scared, you know, and I don't think scared is the right way to say this. Obviously, everyone's just coming to work to do their job, but they're concerned that every single file that they're opening could be that next seller fraud.
Yeah.
You know, and I think peace of mind for escrow teams is a big deal, and just giving people more information to be informed, to have confidence to do their job is massive.
Yeah.
Massive. So, you know, this is really something that we take pride in terms of being able to report. So once we identify someone as either looks good or this is concerning, we are able to then, because we're CloseSimple, we do email communications is baked into what we do. We can easily notify the team, this person looks good, this person doesn't look so good, you may want to look into it. And then we can within 3 seconds of them opening the file, give them confidence about moving forward with that.
I'm starting to sense a trend here that 3 seconds, like it's fast.
Yeah.
We're showing it fast. Like we want to help a title or escrow company not deal with this way down the line.
Exactly.
Right here.
Exactly.
Peace of mind for the staff and
visibility into the entire seller population. And so escrow teams, boots on the ground, they get the confidence, you know, they have that peace of mind. But as leaders in the industry, as owners, as operations managers, you also get access. So part of what we provide at CloseSimple is this full visibility. So we're doing that initial scan, we're doing the ID verification, and then we're providing dashboards to leadership so that they can have visibility into like what's actually happening in that seller population. Because again, we talk to leaders who go, I'm worried about 100% of my seller population when I go to bed at night, right? What's keeping you up at night? Seller identity fraud, you know, and what we can provide is that visibility. So not only can you see all these people passing, you get visibility into that 3% that we looked at to say who's prospective fraud here. And the cool part about this, and when you wrap this whole solution up, you know, we've been doing this now for over 13 months, almost 14 months. We've been running this program in various pilots across the country. And there's a couple things. So like the good news is we've worked with a large organization that actually has a fraud group to figure out how we are going to, you know, manage this information as it's coming in. So there's a lot of baked in learnings that we've had as we are now rolling this out to other title companies. And what's cool about that is you get all those learnings and we can help you understand how to manage that. The bad news is that, and the good news is that we're finding that between 1 in every 600 to 700 orders that are pilot customers opening are actual frauds.
Hmm.
So like, what are we solving? I think that's nuts. 650, 1 out of 650, 1 out of 700 sellers
Yeah.
on files they're opening are actual fraudsters. It's just mind-boggling to me. So if you're a large title company and you're opening a couple thousand, you likely have multiple seller impersonators in your ecosystem right now. And we're not trying to say this to scare you, but we're trying to say this to say, we've done the work to build the platform, the program out, working with actual fraud teams to develop this solution to a place where it's nice and scalable for an everyday title company.
And I think you hit on that earlier too. It's all passive. This is happening in the back end. The staff is not click, 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 searching this out. Like they're finding this out, these fraudsters, before.
That's right. Yeah. Some of the platforms we work with, once we see a buyer name, email, and phone number in the platform, we just automate it. They don't even have to complete a task or change the status or do anything. It just automatically happens. Pretty cool.
I like that. You know, on our website, we have a lot of information about our fraud solutions and everything. Like anybody watching this webinar now can easily set up a demo with us to actually like see it all in action. Today, purpose of the webinar isn't so much to go like, we're going to do a demo of it. We're just going to talk high level. But last thing then that we're solving, that we really hit on, why is this such a big thing?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think as we talk with title companies and leaders in the industry, and as we've been bringing this to market over the past 4 or 5 months, we're hearing about a lot of different solutions, and a lot of the solutions out there will work for things like getting an ID verified, and you know they technically can do the job. But what we've been working on again is to actually build this specifically for title. We understand what the average title company is up against in terms of how you interact with realtors, lenders, buyers, sellers, and what you can get people to do and what you can't get people to do. And we've really tailored this again for you, and we've integrated it, and we've really tried to say, for the title company that's up against this massive fraud issue, can we put forth a solution that really solves it in a way that's going to work really well for the title company? And that's everything we do. You know, everything we do, from how we help communicate to deliver, you know, information securely, receive information securely, integrate. Now, a lot of this fraud stuff, it's really exclusively made for title, and that's how we'll continue to be as we go forward.
When you started the whole webinar, when we said like, what's the difference with CloseSimple's than others maybe in the industry, it's we are fully integrated. So that's why we can do that 3-second.
Exactly.
Right. It's because when the file hits, that's when it starts. Instead of waiting.
Really valuable information about the risk you're up against from the minute you open the file.
Well, Paul, like I said, anybody watching this webinar, we can easily set up a live demo. They can reply to the email that they got invited to, or we do have the live demo link on our site. I do want to just make it available, though. We do have a free download. It's just a little white paper. We made it like a 3-page white paper on how we believe a cohesive user experience, a customer experience that's one thing instead of like 5, 10 different software, how that's actually going to help you with tackling fraud. So there's a free download here. If you'd like it, download that. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to do anything. You're going to get instant access to that white paper. And again, it's like 3 pages, so super easy.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're on the blog, we do have another blog on there that's specific to sort of this paradigm shift of how we need to start identifying fraud earlier in the process, so that we can win a lot earlier and not be just wasting resources, anticipating revenue, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you check that out as well.
Well, with that, Paul, we always like to say we start on time, we end on time.
That's right.
I think we're doing that today. We're doing a great job of starting and ending on time. Everybody, thank you so much for hopping on this webinar. We'll sign off here. We'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anybody has questions. But Paul, this has been fun.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Yeah, again, you know, what are we actually trying to solve? Obviously, seller identity fraud, but we're also trying to solve it in a way that makes sense for the title industry.
Well, thanks everybody for hopping on, and we'll see you on next month's webinar, and Paul and I will stay on for a couple more minutes if you have any questions. Thanks.
Yep. Good to see you.